What we are hoping today allows us to do is actually get a deep dive into each of our candidates and actually listen to them one-on-one. Our next candidate this evening will be Mr. Gery Chico. Mr. Chico will be introduced and interviewed by Dara Puvar. Dara is the Executive Director of the South Asian American Policy Research Institute. Whew, a mouthful. So we call them SAPRI. Please welcome Dara and Mr. Chico.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Mr. Chico. My name is Dara Puvar. I'm the Executive Director of SAPRI, as Lara mentioned, the South Asian American Policy and Research Institute. We're located in the Uptown neighborhood of Chicago, and we serve the South Asian community in Chicago, the surrounding suburbs, and Illinois by using research and data to advocate for our community. So thank you so much for being here today and meeting the diverse residents of our city, especially here in the 50th Ward. So we have a few questions here. You'll have 2 minutes to answer each question as specifically as possible. You will have some time cues here in the front. And with that, yes. And if you could begin by introducing yourself to us for 2 minutes, that would be great.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you, and thank you for all of you being here today to spend some time with us. Senator Villavalam, thank you very much. Delara Saeed, pleasure to be with you again. And Alderman Silverstein, thank you very much for being here and the work that you do every day on behalf of the ward. My name is Gery Chico. I'm a lifelong Chicagoan. I grew up on the southwest side of the city. Why? My grandparents came here from Mexico looking for a better life. And they wound up living in the back of the yards neighborhood, because my grandfather found a job at the meatpacking plant in the neighborhood. And he worked there for 43 years. And interestingly, I don't see this too much anymore, my grandparents lived in the same apartment for 65 years. And they had a very simple lifestyle. But despite that lifestyle, they worked, my grandfather and grandmother both worked all the time. Their idea of a holiday was just to work less. And they taught that to my parents, and they taught that to my brother and me, and this is what I've had running through my veins my whole life. I've learned to take that work ethic and succeed in the private sector as a lawyer for 32 years. For the last 15, I've had my own law firm, 22 employees. We've done very well, and we enjoy servicing our clients. We work a lot in communities around Chicago, building affordable housing, retail, health centers. It's really been a rewarding career. But that work ethic's probably served me even more in the public sector, where I've had a chance to serve as Chief of Staff for the government of Chicago, where we worked on matters like community policing. We worked on matters like towing abandoned cars. None of this stuff is terribly glamorous at times. Knocking down abandoned buildings, repaving our streets, making sure that our water was flowing properly. And I did that for 4 years for Mayor Daley. From there, I served as president of the Chicago Public Schools. Mr. Vallis will come up here in a minute. He and I together worked very successfully together to make the Chicago Public Schools function so much better for all the neighborhoods in Chicago. When I went to Chicago Public Schools, there was a $1.3 billion projected deficit. We turned that into a $345 million surplus by the time we left. We brought our bond rating back by going to New York and talking with bond houses to make sure they understood what we were doing. And by the time we left, and Rick Mulhouse, my friend, knows this, we had a AA bond rating, which was very important to be able to survive and do the things that we wanted to do, like issue $3.5 billion in bonds to rebuild and build new schools around Chicago. 70 plus new schools in neighborhoods of Chicago because of the actions that we took early on. We also raised student performance 6 years in a row. 6 years in a row, and we had peace with our teachers. We did 2 4-year labor agreements with the Chicago Teachers Union, and everything worked just fine, including for my own children, all of whom went to the Chicago Public Schools. So what has this all taught me? that if you have that work ethic and this dedication, I'm sorry, did you cut me off right? I'll just end by saying if you have that work ethic and dedication, there is nothing that you can't do. I'm the eternal optimist, and I want to combine that work ethic with that optimism to make this city something that we are truly, all of us, no matter where we come from, proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chico. So our first question is, you mentioned you're a lifelong Chicagoan, and so many of us here, of course, we love our city, but we're in the midst of many families considering a move to the suburbs or even to other states for school, work, or lower cost of living. How will you assure that residents from modest socioeconomic backgrounds can afford to live, work, and play in Chicago?
Anybody see my commercials? Thank you. That entire theme is about keeping Chicago affordable. We are taxing our citizens out of this city. I say they cannot take one more brick on the back. And I've taken Tony Preckwinkle and Susanna Mendoza to task for this very seriously because they both have a rich history of tax, and tax some more. We have to be distinct here. We have to know what we're doing. This city can quickly drive people out. We're already losing 10,000 people a year, the only major city in America losing population at that rate. Part of that reason is affordability. People can't afford the rent, people can't afford the taxes. We had a situation recently where people were getting fined so heavily because they didn't have vehicle stickers, they were finding it more acceptable to file bankruptcy. That is unacceptable. I said I'm going to fight to protect the working families of this city. My history is one of not taxing people. Not taxing people. I want to be smart. I'm a business person. I see waste in the government. I see lack of efficiency in the government. And I see ways to generate revenue. I'm not naive. I know that we have to generate revenue. But we can do it in a way that doesn't put the extra brick on the back of our working families. People are trying to make it here. They want their children to go to school here. And for me, I have a tear in my eye every time I run into a family that feels it had to leave this city because of cost, or because of the lack of an educational opportunity, or they couldn't find a job. This is the main motivation why I'm running, to keep this city affordable and have a quality of life for everybody to truly enjoy being here and raising their families.
Thank you. So here on Devon Avenue, there are many small businesses that are owned by immigrants and immigrant families, especially for the South Asian community here and other communities as well. And data does show that immigrants and refugees are more likely than the typical citizen to start a business and be entrepreneurs. Does your neighborhood economic development plan support small business owners, particularly immigrant small business owners? And moreover, does it include lightening regulation or reducing taxes for small business owners?
The taxes we've already talked about. I will help people get started in business, not make an impediment to their getting started in business. I am a small business owner. I have to make payroll every 2 weeks, like many of the owners of businesses in this room. It is such a strength of not only the Chicago economy, but the entire nation's economy, that we have small businesses that hire people, provide goods and services for our local communities, and pay taxes. And those taxes are generated as they produce and sell goods and services. This is absolutely critical. One of the problems in Chicago today is that we have so many streets. I was telling Alderman Silverstein at the start of the event this evening, I am so proud when I look at Devon Avenue. I was here just a few weeks ago. We ended an event at near midnight. Kelsey Knoffel's with me. At about midnight, we ended the event, and the lights and the people and the restaurants and the stores, you don't see that throughout the city. You don't see that throughout the city. This is a model for what I want this city to look like. There's no reason why 79th Street on the south side, Archer Avenue on the south side, Ogden Avenue, I can keep going down the streets, shouldn't have the same vitality that is in this community. It's a model. But, I absolutely, believe me, this is in my heart, I believe this. We need to step up to the plate as the city of Chicago. We found $2.3 billion to try to lure Amazon. Amazon, the richest company on the face of the planet. And we can't find the money, seed money, to help our local entrepreneurs start businesses in these vacant storefronts throughout the city and give people jobs and provide services and keep the light on? You want to bring crime down? Have this street like Devon. You won't have people running around stealing and causing and carjacking with all of the activities that is here, but we've lost our way. We've lost our way in many parts of the city. I want to get it back. Of course, my plan for community reinvestment and economic development calls for helping to bring back the vacant storefronts along many of our commercial strips. I've heard people tell me, well, Gery, you don't understand. The nature of retail has changed so much. Oh yeah? Don't tell Southport, don't tell Belmont, don't tell Devon. We can do this. It's very, very doable. We have to have an intense focus and bring the resources of not only the city, but private sector capital to bring these storefronts back along our streets. We'll put people to work and make our communities safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next question, Mr. Chico, is many of our communities, solely based on the color of their skin, their place of birth, or their faith, have been targeted by national security surveillance, such as the federal government's Countering Violent Extremism, or CVE program. CVE focuses on the Muslim community as its primary target, but also targets activist groups such as Black Lives Matter and LGBTQIA. What is your stance on the Countering Violent Extremism program and the mistrust that it creates in our city?
Again, we've lost our way as a nation. We used to be the nation on the face of the earth that welcomed immigrants with a smile and gave them an assist to establish themselves in our various communities and cities. We're not doing that anymore. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to cause a rift here, but what's going on in Washington is wrong. It's very, very wrong. What we are doing in terms of our regulations, of our legislation, the fact that we are now shut down as a United States government for going on weeks because we want to build a wall on the southern border of this country is unacceptable. Unacceptable. I think the strength of America, from everything I've seen and experienced, and this is alive right here in Chicago, is the immigrant population we have. When I was chairman of the Chicago Public Schools, I couldn't believe the amount of languages we spoke. Near 100 languages spoken in this city. That gives you a sense of how an amalgam, what an amalgam we are. That, frankly, is our strength. And so I do not support these kind of surveillance techniques. I held a press conference at the start of this campaign to object to ICE deporting our residents from Gery Airport with Chicago money. Believe this or not, we call ourselves a sanctuary city, and I find out that the City of Chicago Department of Aviation is sending money to Gary, Indiana's airport. And what are they doing? Deporting 14,000 people a year. So crazy, out of control. We cannot be doing this. We have to set the example for allowing our citizens to live safely, peacefully, with peace of mind in our community. And let's do one other thing, Dara. Let's, instead of having them worry about whether they're going to be looked at by the federal government, we help them start a store. We help them start a business and be contributing members to this community in this country. That's what I would like to see.
Thank you. So Mr. Chico, you mentioned your work with Chicago Public Schools. This next question has to do with the fact that a significant number of Chicago Public School students are from families of color and immigrant families. How do you specifically plan to support neighborhood public schools? In particular, do you support an indefinite moratorium on charters? And do you think it's best to have an elected school board, appointed board, or a hybrid board?
Well, there's a lot in that question, so let's see if we can take them one at a time. I am in favor of a hybrid school board where nearly half are elected and half are appointed by the mayor. I believe in democracy, and I think the citizens of this city ought to have a voice in who makes up the Chicago School Board. On the other hand, I've been around long enough, Dara, to see that sometimes I don't want all the budding politicians out there paying attention to issues other than what is in the best interest of children and their families. This is why I want to keep a majority of the positions appointed by the mayor. Why? I think the mayor ought to be on the line. The mayor of this city ought to be on the line for the performance of our school system. There's no other office where you can have singular accountability. And I want to see that happen. Why? The lives of our students go by so fast, from grade to grade to grade. We don't have time to figure this out while people are playing politics. When I went to the Chicago Public Schools, I was motivated by more than anything else, the education that not only my children would get, but all the children of this city. I wanted it to be the top quality it can be. I was talking to one of your officials from the organization hosting the event tonight, and he was beaming with pride about the fact that his son went to Northside College Prep. I'm so happy to have brought different schools into the menu for parents to choose what is best for their children. We had a conversation about nothing made me feel warmer than going to the Shy Arts School on the west side of Chicago, where children performed, sang, danced, every kind of art you can imagine. It made you feel warm to see the students in that environment. We make a terrible mistake when we say one size fits all. We have to have schools that appeal to the tastes of our parents and our families. It's not what we want as administrators, and you'll take it and you'll like it. That's the wrong philosophy. I believe we have to make a variety of schools available to our parents to seek what's best for their students. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chico, for being with us tonight. We look forward to hearing you a little bit later.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for having me.